Alright, so people want to know what upset me, ticked me off when people would try to evangelize to me and what wouldn't. I'd probably say one of the biggest things that really upset me was the approach that people had when they came to me. It was like they were on a mission, you know? And I was not in a place where I considered myself a mission field. And I know that that's a typical way that Christians, you know, when they go through evangelism training courses, you're on a mission field, you know. I know it's biblical and scriptural, but that really turned me off because I felt like I was being treated as a project. And it was very, very noticeable to me that I felt like I was just another score, another name in the book, you know, like people were keeping a tally of all the people that they had, you know, scored for Christ or whatever. And I really didn't want to be known as that. I felt like if you want me to believe what you believe, then you better give me some real attention, you know. People would tend to rush through things, and you know, it was just a race to see how many people they could get. Like they didn't care at all. That was one of the biggest turnoffs for me, and that would piss me off so fast. Seriously, that was one of the biggest things. But another one was, you know, in their vigorous attempt to get me to accept Jesus, you know, they had this get in my face and my business thing. And I don't know who was worse about it, the Baptists or the Charismatics, honestly. Baptists wanted to tell me all about my sin, you know, and hell, I knew what I was doing. I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew I was going to hell. I knew I was going to die, and I was just in a place where I didn't really care about that. But they wanted to get up in my face and tell me everything I was doing wrong, and how horrible I was. And you know, a lot of the behavior that I had was very self-destructive. And that wasn't what I needed, somebody to tell me how bad I was. I knew how bad I was. And I sort of wore that as a badge on my arm. I told one preacher, he was a Southern Baptist preacher, actually. And he was the first one actually ever really, really try to work on me. But I remember one day I was sitting out in the church parking lot, smoking before the service, after the service, you know. I needed to go outside and smoke. So I'd sit and I'd smoke in the church parking lot, and of course at a Baptist church, that's just not right. Then he'd come out there and he'd talk with me while I smoked. But I remember one conversation I had with him, and we got on the topic of evangelism, and he asked me what I thought about it, and I just kind of looked at him and I said, well, I'll tell you what, you can try to reach me, but if you do, I'll cut your effing hand off. And he stopped coming out to the parking lot with me after that. I don't know why. But that was my attitude. I didn't want to be reached, you know. I wanted to be shown. I wanted to see it. And Christians don't seem to understand that. We think that, you know, we need to bring everybody into the fold And we don't understand that once we live it, people will see that, and they'll want to come into the fold. And we won't have to so much go looking for them to evangelize, as the evangelism opportunities will come to us. I think that's a nice way to put it. But that was the second thing that really upset me, was people getting in my face and telling me my business and my sin. Because sinners know what they do wrong. They know, they lie. And they know that they might commit adultery. And they know that they don't love God. They know they're not supposed to steal. Everybody knows that stuff. It's ingrained in us. That's sort of a personal barometer that God put in us, I think. Because we know when we're doing something wrong. And that's where shame comes from. So I didn't need to hear that. I needed to hear that it didn't matter, that I was still loved. So you can sit there and you can tell people all the things that they do wrong. But if you can show them something about themselves that you love and that God loves, then they can see that, hey, maybe there is hope. Maybe I'm not just evil. Because that was my big thing. I was like, I'm evil, And I joked about it all the time, but that's really how I felt, was that I was so evil. And, a lot of churches didn't help, because after they got to know me, and they would begin to agree with me that I was evil. But I wasn't evil. And pre-believers aren't evil either. They do evil things, but they aren't evil. The people aren't evil. The deeds are evil. And so a lot of the big turnoffs was that they never saw anything good in me. They just saw everything bad, and they never encouraged me. In their attempts to reach me, they just made me feel more horrible. And after a spiritual conversation with somebody, I'd end up feeling worse than I did before I even talked to them. And that's not evangelism. Sorry to say it. Our job isn't to shame and guilt people into loving Jesus. It's to show them that even if they do have guilt and shame, Jesus still loves them. But some of the things that I did appreciate was if people came to me with a broken heart over where I was at. We don't know where people are at in their lives unless they make it completely obvious to us, or unless they tell us directly. And I threw myself out there. I made sure people knew where I was at, because I wanted something more. I wanted to be loved. And that's all anybody ever wants. But it took people come to me with love and actual genuine care and concern over where I was at. I had tried to put them off by so many different tactics. I mean, I showed up to church all gothed out, and I cussed worse than a sailor. But it was like all of my tactics to push people away only attracted them to me further. And it was the craziest thing, because I wasn't even really sure what I was doing anymore, I was just doing what I knew how to do, and that was just be rebellious. But when I saw that I was hurting people, and that people were hurting over where I was at, then that really touched me. That somebody would hurt over me, over my hurts and my pains and my heartaches. You know, that when I hurt, they hurt. And that really just touched me in a place that nobody had ever been able to touch before. If we can identify with people where they're at and love them and accept them regardless, that touches something that no hellfire and brimstone preacher could ever touch.